What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be discussing this very man you see on your screen today by the name of Manel Kape. As you probably know, in his last fight, he just avenged his loss from earlier in the career when he lost to Kyoji Horiguchi, and he beat him by a round 3 knockout. Now, there's a lot of narratives on Twitter and a lot of places about how this was a fluke and how he's going to lose to Joshua Van and Alexandre Pantoja in his next matchup, but I completely see it differently, and I think that this guy could be one of the best flyweight fighters we have ever, and I think he'd beat everyone in the flyweight division as it stands right now. So we're going to get into why. You might call me biased. I swear I'm not doing this for clickbait. Like, I genuinely believe in Manel Kape, and I think I have some very good points that maybe you guys are considering, maybe you're not, but let's get some discourse going, because I'm not seeing the hype around Manel Kape from the overall media that I think he should be getting. And I get it. He's on steroids. He's unlikable. He's pulled out of fights, and there's a lot of reasons to hate this guy, but there's a lot of reasons to be very excited for his next upcoming matchups. And, yeah, I think what's going to happen is we're going to see Pantoja versus Van, and then Manel Kape ends up fighting the winner. And when it comes to Pantoja versus Van, I'm not entirely sure where I'm going with that fight. Originally, I picked Pantoja over Van. But after seeing Van's performance against Tatsuro Taira, who, once again, I don't believe is as good as an Alexandre Pantoja, but he dealt with the grappling a lot better than I thought in the takedown threat and just really took it to Taira in moments and landed some good shots and, displayed, a little bit of precision, some power that, didn't necessarily show itself earlier in the career. But without further ado, we're going to get into that matchup. We're going to get into the details of the Van and the Pantoja matchups and how those will play out. But right now, let's talk about Kyoji Horiguchi and why I think that performance is a little bit underrated and why calling it a fluke is not necessarily the right way to look at it. So early on in his career, they ended up fighting at Ryzen, and Kyoji Horiguchi beat him, ended up submitting him in, let me double check this. I'm pretty sure it was round 4. It might have been round 3. It doesn't matter too much. It was round 3, late round 3. And Kyoji rocked him multiple times. I want to say Kyoji rocked him. Sorry, one second here. Kyoji rocked him probably 3 to 4 times, dropped him twice, and Manel Kape just kind of looked like a fish out of water, got beat with the grappling, and Kyoji just looked like an all-around better fighter. And in my opinion, going into this fight, you can check my prediction from Saturday on this fight. I was saying Kyoji Horiguchi is the toughest matchup for Manel Kape in the entire division. And I was saying Kyoji's probably going to win the minutes here, and then Manel Kape's going to win the moments and eventually find a KO. I picked round 2 KO. But if you actually watch that video, there was a moment where I was saying round 3, and then I ended up switching it to round 2. So not the worst prediction. Overall, the way that this fight played out, I think made a lot of sense. I don't think it's really fair to call it fluky, because if you're going to pick a Manel Kape, you're going to be high on a Manel Kape to beat a Kyoji Horiguchi. I don't think you're necessarily expecting him to win every single striking exchange. Like, he is the counter striker. He will be low volume, and he will be looking to shut your lights off or catch you in one of those exchanges that he kind of caught a guy like Kyoji Horiguchi in, and that's why you pick him. So, yeah, once again, I understand why you guys hate him, but we got to give him some credit here. It's not like he's a completely shit fighter and just did steroids, and now all of a sudden he just beats everybody. It's like he has improved his skill set as well. I'm not denying the fact that I think he's on steroids. Like, he probably is, without a doubt. Like, he has gotten better power, but at the same time, he's gotten more precise. His striking defense has gotten better. His grappling defense has gotten better. And overall, his grappling has been underrated for a very long time. We're going to break down that first fight against Alexandre Pantoja. And I think not a lot of people know that in that fight, Manel Kape was the better grappler. Now, I think Alexandre Pantoja at that moment was a better grappler. But in that fight, Manel Kape beat him in the grappling. So we're going to get into it. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to talk ball. I'm not here to be biased and tell you that Manel Kape is going to win because I like him. I honestly think there's reasoning behind this. So Kyoji Horiguchi, I said, was the toughest matchup for Manel Kape, not only because of the takedown threat, but because this guy has a good ability to counter-strike and get his game going from range. He's got a great ability to kick. Great low kicks, great body kicks, great head kicks. That left hook he was working was very good. He's got some solid power in his hands, and he is the quickest, if not the second quickest, behind Joshua Van in this flyweight division. Regardless, he is up there. And we've already seen him rock Manel Kape multiple times throughout this fight, so I was kind of worried to see what we would see. But what I thought we would see from Manel Kape going into this fight was a much more laid-back Manel Kape, someone that wasn't going to necessarily pressure in and force it the way he did in the first fight, and I was right on that take. And then I think that led to eventually him finding that shot in round 3. If he was going in and kind of rushing in and forcing the shot, I think we could have seen him getting caught a little bit more like we saw him in round 2. But let's get into the round by round breakdown, just kind of walk you back through this fight, just to show you what I saw. And, I'm never perfect, but I thought Kyoji looked good. I thought he was presenting a lot of challenges to Manel Kape, and Manel Kape wasn't perfect, but it wasn't this horrible performance where he looked like absolute dog shit and then got lucked out with the KO. Now, it wasn't the greatest performance of all time. I can fully understand that. But getting into round one, I actually gave to Kyoji Horiguchi. I thought it was close. You got some people on both sides swearing adamantly that each fighter won the round. I thought it was a very close fight. Manel Kape had the better moment, but I didn't think the moment was big enough to sway it over Kyoji Horiguchi's 3 to 4 extra strikes. He landed a good body kick, and then he ended up finding a takedown at the end of the round. But important thing to note, if you're looking at the stats, you see 1 of 3 in takedowns. Manel Kape got taken down with 15 seconds left in the round, and he jumped the guillotine, which there's a world where if it's not 15 seconds left in the round, Manel Kape doesn't jump the guillotine, and he has 1 of 5 for takedown defenses instead. So that's another thing to note. I don't think that's completely fair to say, oh, yeah, Kyoji Horiguchi would have got him down every round if he tried. Kape still have some good takedowns. His takedown defense did look improved. Horiguchi didn't look super comfortable shooting in. He was very selective about the times that he was shooting in. And he was working very well from the outside. Like I was saying, going into my prediction, I said Kyoji Horiguchi's movements, his ability to find different angles, his ability to counter-strike and just score from range was going to be a problem for Manel Kape, who's a lower volume guy. And I predicted Kyoji Horiguchi was going to be up until he got KO'd. So I'm going to stop talking about my prediction. I'm saying a lot of shit here, guys. But I thought Kyoji Horiguchi won the first round. The judges did as well. I slightly leaned, and I think that was reflected by the fact that 2 judges had a 10-9 towards Horiguchi, and 1 judge had a 10-9 towards Manel Kape. So I thought that was fair. We move on to the where am I going here? We move on to the second round, and then that's where Kyoji Horiguchi actually clipped Manel Kape and rocked him a little bit with that left hand. And Manel Kape looked pretty rocked, but if you go back and you rewatch it, he was back with it. He was back with it, and I don't want people to come out here and say Kyoji Horiguchi's pillow-fisted, Manel Kape, he was super rocked from just a short left hook, which I'm seeing on Twitter right now, as if Kyoji Horiguchi hasn't knocked out many fighters throughout his career. Like, let's just go through this. I get it. He's been to a lot more decisions, but he's showing power. This is 15 KOs throughout his career. Even this decision against Albazi, he hurt him at times. Like, this is not a pillow-fisted fighter, guys. Okay? Let's get that out of the way first off. Second off, a guy that's a good counter-striker that can land a good inside left hook like he did against Manel Kape when he rocked him in that exchange in the second round is going to be a tough shot to take clean, right? It's these shots that you don't see coming that end up hurting you, which is why I think Joshua Van's power potentially could carry pretty well into a potential matchup, and we'll get into that when we get into that. But I don't think this proves that Manel Kape has a bad chin. We've seen many fights throughout Manel Kape's career where he's eaten a lot of shots. And when he's eaten shots and gotten rocked, he's had very, very, very solid chin recovery, including the first Kyoji Horiguchi fight. So he got hurt, and he was recovered in almost like 3-4 seconds. Kyoji didn't even want to go in and try to find the finish because he could tell Manel Kape was back with it. And that's the other thing about Manel Kape. When he's rocked, it's not really the smartest idea to try and rush in and finish him because that's where he does his best work. As a guy that's very comfortable in the pocket, very good power, very good counter-striking, that's where you potentially rush in a little bit quick, and then you get sniped, right? I feel like there's a much cooler way, much more technical way to say that, but in the caveman terms, that's kind of how you describe it. Like, Manel Kape is dangerous when hurt. He is dangerous off the back foot. I feel like a fucking caveman right now, but getting back into round 2, he hurts Manel Kape. Manel Kape recovers, and then about like 40 seconds later in the round, Kyoji Horiguchi ends up finding a takedown. Now, in my opinion, it's important to note that he found this takedown off a low kick off of Manel Kape. I say that because we didn't get to see potentially what would happen if Horiguchi shot from range in this takedown exchange. We saw it in 2 other exchanges in round 1 where Manel Kape's takedown defense looked good. Like I said, the other takedown at the end of the round where he jumped guillotine, but here he threw a low kick, got caught, which is great work from Kyoji Horiguchi, by the way, but I think Manel Kape against a guy like Alexandre Pantoja is not going to be throwing that many low kicks, which I think that's a reason why it's important to note. And the reason why I say that is because Manel Kick was working in more low kicks than I would expect him against Alexandre Pantoja because he was having a hard time scoring at range. And not only that, getting some low kicks going against such a guy that's able to move so well on the outside, using his footwork to a high degree, can potentially slow them down as well. So I'm not saying he won't throw low kicks. I'm just saying that's another thing to mention. Now, when he got taken down, I'm not going to lie to you, it's not good to see him on his back for the whole round. And if you want to go out there and you say, okay, well, if Kyoji Horiguchi takes him down 3 times, he dominates him for 3 rounds. If you want to say that, that's absolutely fair. In a perfect world for Manel Kape in this situation, he gets taken down, he rips the grip, he gets back up to the cage, and we're back up on the feet in 20 seconds. That didn't happen. What he did is he stayed safe on the ground, which you can argue was was smart. And then round 3 came around and it ended up paying off. I don't think he was necessarily going to win this by decision. And even then, like, he knew he was going throughout 5 rounds. He wanted to probably, oh my gosh, dude, I can't think of a fucking regular word right now. He wanted to preserve his cardio and just not maybe blow his load trying to get back up to the feet. So he survives the round. Kyoji Horiguchi does a good job. Manel Kape does a very good job of staying safe. Doesn't really get caught in many submission attempts or any submission attempts. And doesn't allow Kyoji Horiguchi to land many significant strikes. Lands 11, but still, you got to think some of this was from the exchange where he ended up rocking Manel Kape. So the round ends. We get to round 3, and then Manel Kape comes out here. And Kyoji's having some success. Like, he kind of tagged Manel Kape. I want to say it was with the left hook again. It didn't hurt him as bad as some people are saying. Did it get some respect? Absolutely. And then Kyoji landed a couple strikes after that. But I didn't think Manel Kape was rocked, like, even closely to how bad he was in round 2. And even then, like I said, he was able to recover, and I don't think it was like this, holy shit, he was about to get KO'd. You know what I mean? If he was about to get KO'd, I think Kyoji Horiguchi would have tried to go for the finish a little bit more. But round 3 comes around. Kyoji has a good moment. He's looking good, landing low kicks. And then he goes in looking for a shot, and as soon as he engages in the pocket, Manel Kape, I think he got clipped by a shot, and then Kyoji went for another one, and then he steps back, finds that overhand right, hurts Kyoji Horiguchi, ends up finishing him. Some people are saying this was an early stoppage. I disagree. I think Manel would have found the follow-up strikes, and if you watch his career, when he has someone hurt, for the most part, he's very good at finding the finish from there, and especially since he's grown a titty, this has been the case as well. So I'm going to start talking about the other fights now because I'm realizing this is 12 minutes deep, but shit. I love this shit. I love the flyweight division, man. I love talking about this. So when it came down to it, I thought Kyoji Horiguchi was the toughest stylistic matchup, can fight out of both stances, has the open stance matchup. He does very well with the open stance matchup with that body kick, head kick. Low kicks were good. And being able to have these tools at range with the footwork that he has, working from the outside, forcing Manel Kape to kind of work from range and beat him at range at times when Manel Kape doesn't have the greatest ability to establish the jab and low kick, not efficiently, but just like consistently throughout his career. That's not Manel Kape's game. I thought it was the worst stylistic matchup for him. And when you go through Manel Kape's resume, I think Tapology probably looks better. Yeah. Muhammad Mokaev, I said, was the toughest matchup in the division for him at that time. And that was a hot take. People are like, Muhammad Mokaev's not that good. I'm like, well, Muhammad Mokaev has the frame advantage, is taller, has the reach advantage from what I know. Let me double check this. Muhammad Mokaev here. We're looking at a 70-inch reach. I know what the leg reach is. But Manel Kape is listed at 5'5", 68. And he has a pretty long reach. Like, he's at least normally even, if not a little bit bigger. And he was at a reach disadvantage against a guy with good grappling, a guy that can find takedowns at the back foot, and a guy that's going to mitigate risks, kind of similarly to a Kyoji Horiguchi. And it's these well-rounded guys with a takedown threat that are not going to be out here trading in the pocket with a guy like Manel Kape and have a threat kind of off their back foot, so Manel Kape just can't go out there and start teeing off on them. That are the toughest matchups for a guy like Manel Kape, in my opinion. Right? Now you're going to say, oh, what does Muhammad Mokaev have off his back foot? First off, he's going to use his kicks, his jabs, his length, his ability to switch. I think he's pretty good at switching stances, fighting at range, right? Just keep it at range. When it doesn't, he's going to shoot takedowns. Something's caught in my throat right here. Holy fuck, I had water somewhere around here. Regardless, here it is. Regardless, a guy like Muhammad Mokaev has no problem keeping the fight at range, not engaging in the pocket, and when Manel Kape is really trying to come in, find the big shot, put some pressure on him, you can always shoot a takedown, potentially find it. If he doesn't find it, Just get into the clinch and stay safe. Like Muhammad Mokaev is a guy that doesn't mind taking the path of least resistance, similar to a Kyoji Horiguchi. This is not the case with Pantoja. This is not the case with Van. And another thing to note in this Mokaev fight, very low volume. Some people said Manel Kape won this fight. As a Manel Kape guy that was cheering for him, I didn't think he won the fight. I thought it was close. I thought it was 29-28 or very close, 30-27. Like, all the rounds are pretty competitive. You go round by round here. Another thing to note, very big thing in my opinion, Manel Kape's toe broke in the first round. And not that there was a whole lot of movement, but I do think that it clearly kind of impacted how he went about and approached his fight, kind of approached the way he was throwing strikes and moving around, and probably his game plan a little bit. And as you saw, this was the first round. And then there was that weird moment where he tried to pants Manel Kape, which, I mean, it is what it is. Regardless, super low output fight, the exact type of fight a guy like Muhammad Mokaev can win. As you see, he shot 8 takedowns. I don't know. I think since this fight even, if you want to say Muhammad Mokaev won that fight fair and square, the toe injury didn't mean anything, Muhammad Mokaev is just a beast. That's fair to say. But since then, we've seen massive improvements in his takedown defense and just improvements in his all-around striking defense. He's landing 4 straight KOs against super high-level fighters. When I say high-level, these are the 2 high-level fighters. Asu's good. Asu has a matchup against Charles Johnson this weekend. I'm going to be picking Asu Omabayev. Make sure to tune into my full card predictions and breakdowns. I'm doing a lot of research. Going to be watching tape basically all day tomorrow and probably some on Wednesday as well. And then I'll try to have that video out on Wednesday. I believe it's Monday today, so we'll get that done for you guys. Yeah, but anyways, like, I picked Manel Kape in all these fights. I picked him by KO in all of these fights. I've been very good at predicting Manel Kape. I picked Manel Kape here, but I gave him like a 51% chance, and I did not bet on him. As someone that still said at this moment, right after this fight, that he would beat Alexandre Pantoja when he gets there in a rematch, I was not confident he was going to win this shit. Weird matchup for him, right? So, okay, I guess you kind of get my point here. Someone that's not going to take unnecessary risk, trade in the pocket with a guy like Manel Kape, who has a good chin, has good power, has great counters within the pocket, can extend his combinations, can rip to the body, has good striking defense for the most part, is going to be a tough matchup for him when you're engaging in the pocket, when you're trying to close the distance, kind of impose your will, because he's strong too, right? He's stronger than a lot of his fighters. He's on steroids. And the last thing I'm going to say, just breaking down this Kyoji thing before we break down the Van and Pantoja matchups, how I think it would go, is everyone picks against Manel Kape. Everyone was picking against him here. Everyone was picking against him here. And he was the favorite. And I'm not acting like I'm picking like a plus 200 underdog every time. But when he wins and he knocks people out, they say, holy shit, he's on fucking steroids. I hate this guy. But you knew he was going on steroids going into the fight. So why are you not predicting him to win? If steroids make up that much of a difference, why are you not betting him? Right? Like, these are decisions you can make. So if you're going to cope, I just don't think it's fair to say, like, oh, dude, he would have won that if he wasn't on steroids. Okay, but you predicted the fight knowing Manel Kape was on steroids. So I sound like I'm advocating for steroids. I promise you I'm not. For the most part, I'm against steroids. I would not really be a fan of Manel Kape unless I was saying he's going to beat Pantoja, he's going to rinse Van, he's going to beat at least top flyweight guys, and feeling like I have this crazy take and I've had it for a long time. And it just seems like it's looking more and more and more true as we get around the moment. So, I don't know. I've been a Manel Kape guy for a long time. I think his style is actually really sick, and sometimes his fights can be dull, but a lot of times that's because he doesn't have these opponents that are willing to trade with him in the pocket and really willing to kind of go to war. So, I don't know. And when you go to war with Manel Kape, just based on styles, to my thoughts, what the fuck, man? English is not doing its thing right now, but in my head, Manel Kape is not a guy you want to, quote, quote, go to war with, because those are the exchanges that he will catch you in. And he doesn't end up going to war because the fight doesn't extend, because he catches these people in these exchanges and it doesn't extend past that. So let's break down Manel Kape versus Joshua Van, and then we're going to break down the Pantoja fight. Let's do it. All right. Let's go to Joshua Van. Let's break down that fight first. I think UFC stats will probably be a little bit better in terms of what I'm going to argue here. But just that Joshua Van he's pretty hittable, and he's been rocked multiple times throughout his career. And literally when it came right around this level, when he was fighting Zhalgas Samagulov, there was multiple people I was telling you, hey, dude, Joshua Van is a guy that needs to be on your radar. This is a guy that could be a future champ. He's super young, great boxing, seems pretty well-rounded, good takedown defense from what we've seen so far, a pretty good submission ability. Does he jump guillotine a little bit too much and go for the sub too much? Yes, but this guy will be good when he's older, and he's been very good so far. I've looked very sharp. I've cheered for him in every single fight that he's had, outside of the Pantoja fight, because I picked Pantoja, and I cheer for my picks. Does that make me a bad person? I'm sorry, guys. I love Joshua Van. I do. I think Manel Kape finishes him inside 2 rounds. And let me tell you why. Not only is he at a reach disadvantage, let's try to compare this. I wish there was a way to just have it side by side. We're looking at 5'5" versus 5 foot. Manel Kape's taller than 5'5", I think. I think Manel Kape's like 5'7". Let's see what UFC rankings has him listed at. Maybe that's down here. Dude, fuck off. 65. What is that? That's 5'5", is it? 65 inches. Holy shit, bud. Come on here. And feet. Dude, that's low-key. Like, these guys are fucking small. But smallest weight divisions, quickest fighters, and I think it's like some of the most fun shit to watch. That's 5'5". Okay, let's say they're the same size, which I would bet that Manel Kape is taller. I don't think that's correct. I just think Manel Kape, with the reach advantage, with the striking defense that he has, the chin that, in my opinion, he showed off. If you want to say it's not granite, that's fair to say, but Joshua Van hasn't necessarily shown great power throughout his career. Charles Johnson caught him on a counter. Trying to just holy fuck, why can I not remember what this exchange was? I want to say overhand right or straight right, whatever it was. Charles Johnson ended up catching him on a counter. Joshua Van had a lot of success, wasn't able to put him away. I think Manel Kape's very durable, and even if Joshua Van is having a lot of success, Manel Kape will find the better shots. Bunez had success. Borjas, I want to say, hurt him. Maybe he didn't. I'm fucking forgetting the fights right now, guys. This is bad. But there's been 2 to 3 fighters right around this range that have hurt Joshua Van. Brandon Royval, this is probably the strongest argument of all of them, because I wish I watched Joshua Van tape recent enough to give you every single moment where he's gotten hurt and kind of stuttered, hit a bunch, whatever it might be. But he's absorbing a lot of strikes, as you can see. Zalgas and Maggie, there's a lot of grappling in this fight, though. So actually, not really, huh? I'm off. Okay. We're going to go back and watch some Joshua Van tape. But I promise you, when I rewatch the Joshua Van tape against Alexandre Pantoja and lead up to that, the whole time I'm thinking, dude, Manel Kape is fucking sniping this guy. Manel Kape is fucking sniping him inside of 2, and it just keeps proving true. It keeps. We are gonna get it done. Not really, but look at this. We got 216 strikes landing on Joshua Van, and I know this is just MMA math bullshit. You're gonna be like, okay, dude, this guy doesn't know ball. But at the end of the day, it's 180 head strikes absorbed from Brandon Royval. Brandon Royval, sure, longer opponent. You could say that's a little bit weird for him. Manel Kape will have the reach advantage. He's going to be the stronger guy. He's going to have the chin advantage. He's going to have the power advantage. And he has the counter-striking advantage. Being the smaller guy in Joshua Van, which I'm just going to go out there and make a bet. Joshua Van and Manel Kape are not the same height. I'm going to say Manel Kape's 2 inches taller, with like a 2-inch reach advantage. Stylistically, Joshua Van likes to close the distance and exchange in the pocket, extend his combinations. Manel Kape lives there. He waits for those combinations. He waits for people to close the distance and trade with him in the pocket. He wants those moments to occur, okay? The way I see it, man, is Joshua Van's going to have to close the distance at some point. In that range, he doesn't have the ability of a Kyoji Horiguchi to use his footwork, float around on the outside, get the low kicks going. Joshua Van can land some low kicks, absolutely. He also is a little bit open to getting low kicked as well. That's another flaw. Not that Manel Kape is low kick McGee. He's not by any means. But he just has like striking defense holes when it comes to the combinations he's putting on people. Dude, it looks so sexy. When Joshua Van is flow stating, man, it is like another fucking feeling when you're cheering for him. Like, this fight was so much fun to watch, man. And he really was battering Tatsuro Taira at times, but Tatsuro lands takedowns. And this is another thing that I actually kind of forgot to mention. Manel Kape found like 2 or 3 takedowns on Kyoji Horiguchi in their first fight. Manel Kape is a good grappler. He out-grappled Alexandre Pantoja. He can get the takedowns going. I think he's the better grappler between the two. Where Joshua Van has the advantages is he has better output. You can say he's quicker. And what? He's not more powerful. If you want to say he's a better chin because he hasn't gotten knocked out this far outside of Charles Johnson, like maybe you can say that. But Manel Kape hasn't gotten knocked out, right? Sure, he's gotten subbed. Oh, Joshua Van hasn't got subbed in the UFC. Okay. Like, yeah, you can say that. I'm trying to think if he got subbed on the regional scene. I don't think he has. I think, he has. Okay. That's right. I think I've seen this fight, but that was so long ago that not necessarily going to fault him for it. Coming back here to Manel Kape. Got sidetracked. Dude, he had success in the grappling against Alexandre Pantoja. I got to click a couple links here. Give me a second here. Alexandre Pantoja and then Alexandre Pantoja, Manel Kape. We're back to it. 2 of 7 takedowns. Alexandre Pantoja only shot 1 takedown. I think I have a theory for that, and I do think that he shot more than 1 takedown. There was only credited with 1. There's probably like 3 full attempts, and we're going to break down that fight. Let's actually break down what happened in this fight because I can use this in my argument against a guy like Joshua Van for Manel Kape. In this fight, Manel Kape started off low volume. Another very important thing to note is since this fight, Manel Kape, Alexandre Pantoja did not lose a single fight. This is when he went on his run. So you can't say that Alexandre Pantoja was shit back then because he wasn't. He had a very good performance against Brandon Royval the next fight. Did very good against Alex Perez, right? And then he fought Brandon Moreno, split decision, and then beat Brandon Royval. Like, this is right around when he was looking fantastic. I laid the biggest bet of my life at the time, right? At the time for when this was. I wasn't that big into gambling. On Pantoja over Perez because I believed in him so much, right? When we look at Manel Kape at this time period, even more important, this was his UFC debut against a top 5 guy, right? And then he put on a fight against Mateusz Nicolau that wasn't that good. I thought he won that fight, regardless, very close, a little bit too close. But once again, Mateusz Nicolau, another tough matchup for him as a guy that's going to mitigate his risk, not going to trade in the pocket like an idiot. Manel Kape's power wasn't as good then, if you want to argue that, and you want to say he's taking steroids now. That's another reason to like his outcomes in the future. But Mateusz Nicolau is a guy that's going to shoot takedowns. I want to say he shot like 9 in this matchup. I know ball. There you go. Finally, I got a stat right. But like Mateusz was just mixing in everything. This was a not lower output fight at times, but still, like I thought Manel Kape won on damage. And I gave it to him. I mean, you look here, 31 versus 27, 28 versus 21. You want to break it down, go back, rewatch the fight for yourself. I thought Manel won. Say what you want to say. Still a tough stylistic matchup as a well-rounded opponent that's not going to exchange with Manel where he wants to exchange. And when Manel has to be the guy that's pressuring someone, being the pressure boxer like a Ilia Topuria style, that's not where I think he does his best work, even though some people are going to say that just because he gets KOs and he KO'd Royval while he was pressuring. Where he does a good job when he's pressuring is when he's pressuring and forcing his opponents to kind of bite for feints or lead out with the strikes so that he can then find a counter, kind of like what happened against Brandon Royval, right? And I would say in a fight against Loner Kavanagh, that's kind of how I would see it playing out, and we'll break that down. I'm going to stop saying will. We are going to do this. We're going to get through these matchups quicker. Holy shit. I am ranting like a mug, but I want to get a video out today. I want to see what you guys have to think, and I could talk about flyweight for fucking 5 hours straight, man. Even though you got some fucking shitty fighters at the top or in the rankings right now. We're going to recover. We're going to be a deeper division. We are team flyweight, and I hope that these matchups at the top are bangers. I think the build-up between Kape versus Van, by the way, would be like a lot bigger than people think. There's going to be a lot of shit talking. If Joshua Van gets through Pantoja, he'll be a pretty damn big star. And that fight's going to have a lot of hype on it. That's all I'm going to say. Also, here we go. I'm glad that I remembered this. Manel Kape is a favorite over Joshua Van. And I was telling my friend, I was having this debate with my friend before Joshua Van was fighting Tatsuro Taira, and Manel Kape even fought Brandon Royval. I want to say this is when we were having this debate. I was like, dude, Manel Kape smokes Joshua Van, and he was a Joshua Van fan. We kind of walked through it, and he's like, dude, yeah, I believe you. And we're like, we give like Manel Kape like a 70% chance to win that fight, 75% chance to win that fight. And minus 190 indicates right under 66%. This is like a 65% chance here. So the books are giving you great value in Joshua Van. And by any means, guys, if you like Joshua Van and you just see him beating Manel Kape because of the moments of Manel Kape, getting touched by Kyoji Horiguchi and him being low volume and losing the minutes and Joshua Van's high volume, and he can gas out Manel Kape over 5, by any means do it. I would love you to do that so I can get better value on Manel Kape, but I feel very high on him in this matchup, and I'd still put him around like a 70% chance to win that fight. And people are going to say that's crazy. I just think styles make matchups, and not only that, like frames matter a lot too. You kind of saw with the Topuria fight a little bit, but I mean, I'm not going to fucking be the guy, oh, he's reach, so he's going to win. Which kind of, I did make that argument already, but it's like when these factors add up, I think Manel Kape's the better grappler. I think he's the better counter striker. I think he's got the more power. He's the most precise striker in the flyweight division. He's shown good takedown defense as well. I don't think Josh Van's going to get the grappling going. And Joshua Van, as a smaller opponent, is going to really struggle kind of getting his striking from range really working, outside of the fact that he's really quick. Sure, he can land some low kicks, but he's going to have to massively improve a lot of striking tools to kind of and rebuild his style a little bit to get this one done with Manel Kape without charging in to Manel Kape's space. So maybe I'm off on that. I honestly just see Joshua Van extending the combinations with Manel Kape, engaging kind of the shorter range, and underestimating how good Manel Kape is. So I think that's where Manel Kape will succeed. I think Manel Kape can also work footwork on the outside and choose kind of what counters he wants to go for. But Joshua Van's gonna pressure in. He's already shown a little bit of a chin issue. He's shown great chin recovery, but once again, Manel Kape is not a guy you want to get rocked against because he will find the finish more times than not. I saw in the Kyoji Horiguchi fight, you want to call it early stoppage. I think Manel Kape absolutely would have finished him. Same thing with the Brandon Royval fight. He's got pretty good follow-up ground and pound. And like I said, he's just very accurate on top of being very powerful and on steroids. So let me know. Joshua Van's like easily in my top 20 favorite fighters. And Manel Kape's like definitely a little bit higher than that. And if he wasn't on steroids, he would be much, much higher than that. I just think he is a sick matchup, or sick style. And the number one style that is just not going to match up well with Manel Kape is the Joshua Van. And once again, I have been saying for a long time too, I've lost my fucking ways here. All right, there we go. For the longest time, I've been saying the hardest matchup for Joshua Van and Alexandre Pantoja in the division is Manel Kape. And then I also said, for a decent amount of time, Manel Kape's toughest matchup in the division is Muhammad Mokaev, who I do think will be back in the flyweight division, making it even more fun. And then on top of that, Kyoji Horiguchi, once he came into the UFC, and I kind of saw that. But I was saying these takes before Kyoji Horiguchi was in the UFC, so you can't call me delusional, man. You can't. Okay? Once again, I still don't know who I'm going with between Van and Pantoja, but I still think Manel Kape beats both. Let's get into the Pantoja matchup. In this fight, Pantoja got the kicks going very well early. And I think you need a strong kicking game to deal well with Manel Kape, who is open to the low kick, and Pantoja had it going absolutely. Now, I do think the takedown threat was a big part of it. It says he shot in on one takedown. I remember like 3 exchanges, I want to say. One of them was like a real takedown where Manel actually stuffed it. But for the most part, Manel stuffed him and got back to range very quickly. Manel was circling very well as well. And one place that Alexandre Pantoja had very little success was with his hands. Like, he wasn't landing very well to the head of Manel Kape. And when he wasn't necessarily landing clean, and Manel Kape was doing much better work there. Another interesting thing to note is going into this round 3, Alexandre Pantoja's corner was saying, hey, you need to push for round 3. Like, the first 2 rounds we probably got, but it was close enough to where we want to push. We want to get this round 3 if we can. He kind of turned up the volume a little bit, and that's when we saw Manel Kape end up winning this round. And then towards the end of the third round, I want to say, like, he landed some of his best strikes. His jab was actually having a lot more success than we've seen recently in his career. Another thing that had a lot of success was just that pull right counter. We've seen Davis and Figueiredo land this combo a lot. And if you haven't seen that fight between Figueiredo and a guy like Alexandre Pantoja, not a guy like Alexandre Pantoja, just Alexandre Pantoja, because the fight fucking happened. Haven't slept well lately, but Pantoja was getting clipped by the overhand right. Figueiredo was landing a lot of counters on him, and this is Figueiredo, a guy that is beating him in the pocket, someone that's willing to trade with him in the pocket. Like I said, I'm telling you, Manel Kape is great within the pocket. Sometimes his counters, when someone is charging at him, are world class, right? It will take some time for that age to fucking age a little bit, but I think it's going to age well. I think he's going to clip both Pantoja and Joshua Van coming in, closing the distance, right? Extending their combination. When Pantoja blitzes in, that chin is wide open. And Kape found some shots. He didn't necessarily look like he trusted his power as much as he has recently. And even then, like, I just think Pantoja's gotten a lot more comfortable with the blitz. If anything, Pantoja is going to be the one underestimating the other fighter coming into this. Manel Kape just showed this last weekend that he does well in rematches so far that we can prove, right? Unless you're one of the people saying, oh, he fluked it. That's his style, guys. Like, he can lose a whole fight, look poor, and then just fucking sit down on a shot, take one to give one. That's what makes him so damn dangerous in the pocket, is like he can eat your best shot and just sit down on his, and you're out of there, right? That's what he can do against Pantoja. That's what Figueiredo did against Pantoja and hurt him multiple times, right? Go ahead and look at these strikes, or the fucking stats on this fight. Figueiredo won 30-27 because he was landing the bigger shots, right? Pantoja didn't look that bad, and he shot a few takedowns, and he shot 10 takedowns, so it's a different matchup. And if you want to say Figueiredo has shown better takedown defense and has been more proven throughout his career, you can say that, but I would say like Manel Kape's takedown defense has massively improved. Look at the Asio Mabayev fight. And let's say Asio Mabayev goes out there and beats Charles Johnson, looks very good this weekend. Let me check the odds here. I'm very curious. He's minus 250 over Charles Johnson, right? I'm not saying that makes him a lock, but it makes sense seeing Charles Johnson's style. And I think he might make it look very dominant, right? I know Charles Johnson had good moments against Estevam in round 3, but Estevam has horrible cardio, and he's dog shit. And Almabayev is a better wrestler, better at chaining together takedowns, and he's looked very good recently. So we'll get to that in a couple of days, guys. This is a very fun card, by the way. You guys should be excited. Look at some of these matchups. But let's get back to here. I kind of wanted to look at some of these matchups. And then Pantoja's a favorite of Joshua Van in a rematch. So kind of interesting how that doesn't change much. I do think, once again, like Pantoja is just a tougher matchup for him than a guy like Tatsuro Taira. I think Pantoja is able to, number one, he has a better chin. Then Taira still has a good chin, though. Like, he proved a good chin. But part of it's like, okay, Joshua Van hasn't shown, like, crazy power. But he clipped him with a very clean shot and put him down and damn near had him fully out of there. And then Taira recovers. So is it one of those things where he's great chin recovery and just, like, an ability to get rocked pretty easily? Or is it more of a thing where Joshua Van is just super precise, landed a very quick shot, and he was fucking hurt because of it. And Joshua Van becoming more precise is overall carrying into his power more, which is why I kind of do think that I'm coming around a little bit more so than when I was saying 75% to 70% Manel Kape beats Joshua Van, to more of like a 70% than a 75, or drifting towards the 65% range, depending on how this Pantoja matchup goes. But once again, guys, like I really just think it's a nightmare matchup for Joshua Van. I do. And my friend, I swear, he watches a lot of tape too. He sees the same exact things as me. So he's kind of confirming I'm not being biased and just trying to be a sharp guy with a non-popular play here. The books confirm it here as well. If you disagree, you're welcome to bet Joshua Van, like I said. And that's not a threat. It's not a threat. I'm always open to discourse. Would love to see what you guys have to say in the comments. But getting back to this fight, Figueiredo was just trading in the pocket, landing up a lot of shots, taking some as well, right? He wasn't just one-way traffic like Pantoja was landing some shots as well, but Figueiredo has a good enough chin to take his shots. Manel Kape's taking some shots from Alexandre Pantoja that makes me think he can do the same thing. And I would say just Manel Kape's style overall throughout 5 rounds. Even though he hasn't been 5 rounds, people are going to say, oh, you can't say that, but I think it's very good for preserving cardio throughout 5 rounds. And Kape in their fight showed that he can circle around and use his footwork to kind of stay on the outside. It's whether or not he can stop the low kicks from having as much success as they did in the first fight. And Pantoja's going to shoot more takedowns, but in my opinion, he's fighting these takedowns with that striking threat he has on the feet, with that wild blitz that people have not been able to counter this far into his career. But I also think a lot of that is with who he's facing, right? Like, Asakura, okay, sure, he has some power and, like, some counter ability. He was throwing some good knees, but, like, this is a guy losing to Tim Elliott, right? This is a guy losing to Tim Elliott, right? And Cameron Smotherman, great performance. Cameron Smotherman's not that proven, right? Kai Car France has good power, not great counters. He overextends on a lot of shots. And he got taken down multiple times by Kai Asakura. That's the wrong fucking fighter. Askar Askarov is who I was going for there. Stopped a lot of takedowns. But once again, got held up against the cage, had his back taken multiple times. I picked Pantoja there, right? I picked Pantoja in every single one of these fights, by the way. And a lot of people have picked against him throughout these times. So just saying my take. What else is there? Brandon Royval. I've always kind of said he's overrated for a lot of time. I've been saying Royval is overrated power for a lot of time. Reaching back to the Joshua Van fight, once again, he's eating a lot of shots from Joshua Van. I've said he's at an overrated chin. Manel Kape just fucking dusts Brandon Royval in a round, right? And people are going to say, oh, Van landed 200 strikes and he rocked Brandon Royval, so his chin got... I mean, Brandon Royval, dude, like, say what you want. Like, he's very hittable. He's been hittable. That's why I picked Manel Kape over him. By round 2 KO, gets it done round 1. So I'm always one round off predicting Manel Kape KOs. Unfortunate. We're going to wrap up soon. We will. I think Manel Kape can win by decision against Pantoja. I think he has the takedown defense to stuff the takedowns. I think he has the counter-striking ability to make Pantoja kind of pay for his blitzes. Like, this Urseg performance still happened, and we've seen Urseg since then. Urseg doesn't have the most dangerous counters, right? He's a pretty tight striker. I think fucking Manel Kape finds the counter from hell against Steve Urseg, right? We've seen the Brandon Royval match. I think Manel Kape's a better grappler than Brandon Royval. If he wanted to take down Brandon Royval multiple times, he could have. Guys, I'm telling you, watch the fight with Pantoja, and you'll be impressed with Manel Kape's grappling. Right? It's not like he's a Dagestani, but this is something he can do, and he can have a takedown threat throughout fights. That's all I'm gonna say. And he did in the Pantoja fight. Is there anything else? Alex Perez isn't that good, but still, like, this is not the craziest resume. Moreno's not the most powerful fighter, right? This is the most powerful fighter he's ever faced in his career outside of Manel Kape, and this is pre-PED Manel Kape. This is new for Manel Kape. 4 straight KOs. Come on, man. He's getting it done, guys. If he's an underdog, please, guys, bet him. Please, I want you guys to make money. I want you to. You got to look past the reign of the big, mighty Pantoja, guys. We have to look past it. Davison Figueiredo gets it done. The most similar style to Manel Kape, the biggest power puncher that rocked his belt multiple times, stuffed most of the takedowns, right? Pantoja still has a very good chin, but there's moments where you see him gassing out against Brandon Royval, and I think it was round 4 where Brandon Royval managed to get taken down, and Pantoja has that kind of cardio where when he's gassed out, he will be able to power through, and he will be able to find... holy shit. He will be able to kind of find the takedowns or do what he needs to get done. But once again, he's getting gassed out, and like Royval's not forcing him to fail a lot of takedowns. I think Manel Kape, when you're breaking it down, you got to look at this fight against Asam Abayev, stuffing 6 takedowns, like, and not really many of them were close, with ease as a massive improvement. I don't think you can fault him too much for this fight when his toe was broken, and it's already a tough matchup against someone that will stay at range and not rush things against a counter-striker like Manel Kape, who doesn't necessarily have the best tools at range. Another reason why I think Kyoji Horiguchi found one of the takedowns because Manel Kape was throwing low kicks, as I mentioned earlier. In a fight with Alexandre Pantoja, he's not going to be throwing the low kicks because he's not going to be so worried about scoring at range, right? And if he does, like, he threw some low kicks in their fight, but he was very tactical about when he threw them. He's going to be waiting for Alexandre Pantoja to blitz in. And Alexandre Pantoja wasn't blitzing in as much in the fight against Manel Kape as he has been against his recent opponents. And when he did, that was round 3, which is somewhere around here. Let's find it. That was round 3, which was the one round that Manel Kape won, right? And once again, these 2 rounds were very, very close. I had not very, very close. I had Alexandre Pantoja winning these rounds pretty clearly just because of the kicking game he got going. But Kape just showed improved kicking defense against Kyoji. Going into round 3, Kyoji's team told him not to throw the body kicks or the kicks anymore because Manel Kape was doing a very good job of catching those kicks. And they knew that Manel Kape has a grappling threat, guys. That's all I'm going to say. Now, if you want to say he can't control Pantoja, agreed, fair. But a takedown threat will be there. And I bet you guys didn't see this before. You didn't think about that. So I think at this point, Manel Kape is the best counter-striker Pantoja will have ever faced throughout his career. Probably the most precise power puncher he's ever faced throughout his career. And one of the better takedown threats he's faced recently. So Let me know if I'm tripping. We got more fights in this division. I'm going to kind of just go throughout my predictions early. But I would say Manel Kape, round 2 KO. I also think he could get this one done by decision. And by the end of round 3, if you look at that fight, Manel Kape looked like he could go another 4 to 5 rounds because he does preserve his energy very, very, very well. Okay? So, let's just break it down. I go Manel Kape. Dude, maybe round 1 KO. Holy shit. Round 1 KO. Round 2 KO. Maybe round 3. Maybe round 3 KO. Maybe round 2. Round 1 KO. Round 2 KO. I give him like a 70% chance to beat Joshua Van. 64 to 65% chance to beat Alexandre Pantoja. Tyra, I don't really fucking know. Probably like a 75 to 80% chance to beat Tyra. I'm going to say 78. Boom. Sexy number. He beat Royval against Kavanagh. Kavanagh's interesting, guys. Kavanagh could sneaky be a tough matchup. The problem with Kavanagh for me is when he's having success in the pocket, a lot of these times he's dropping his hands, leaving exchanges. Still happened in the Moreno fight. I almost picked him over Moreno. I said that I would have picked him over Moreno in a full camp, but it was short notice, so I didn't allow myself to do it. But Kavanagh's a guy with power. That could be a problem for Manel Kape, who is quick, has good boxing. But at the end of the day, a hole that I've seen in Loner Kavanagh's game is he does fall for a lot of feints, and then from there he throws out a lot of strikes. And from that moment moving forward, I could see Manel Kape finding a big shot and putting him away. So I go Manel Kape probably late round 2, round 3 kind of thing. But Loner can score well from range. He probably wins that fight with low kicks, jabs, straight punches, fighting around the outside until he doesn't, and he might slow down. Manel Kape's probably pressuring him, potentially finding some shots, but I can see Manel Kape struggling. So that's one of the tougher matchups in the division for him. Kyoji, I think, is still the hardest. And then you have Asu, he's already beaten. Amir's not that good. Moreno, I think he would smoke. But Moreno could be tough. Moreno could be tough, actually. But I do think he would KO Moreno. I'm trying to think. Like, Moreno can move around to the outside, create different angles, but that could be tricky. I do think that he would beat Moreno, though. And also, Moreno's taken enough damage at this point where he's probably not what he used to be. And he'd probably have too much respect for the power of Manel Kape, just given how his recent performances have gone. And to be fair, he doesn't look like Prime Moreno. Granted, I still think Prime Moreno would struggle with the matchups he's been losing to, which might be a hot take. But, hey, that is what it is. The rest of the division isn't really that interesting. But Kavanagh is a sneaky, tough matchup, I'm telling you guys. Just whether or not he's going to keep his hands up, leaving the pocket. That's where Charles Johnson clipped him. I mean, if you watch that finishing sequence again, you could see why I'd want to pick Manel Kape over him. And then on top of that, I think Manel Kape could get some grappling potentially going in that matchup. Manel Kape's got the better cardio, and Manel Kape's got a pretty good chin. And for a guy like Loner Kavanagh that, for most part, may need to finish in that fight. Maybe not, though. Like, he absolutely could win that by decision. But also, like I said, he seems to bite on a lot of feints and then throw out strikes, which will get him out of position where I could see Manel Kape following up and finding a shot from there. So, yeah, that's my prediction for Manel Kape. I think he beats everyone in this division, and we're going to see in due time, and I could be wrong and I could look stupid. But his resume, super underrated as it comes right now. Not that Royval is like this fucking sneaky goat. I just think Kyoji Horiguchi was the toughest matchup for the division in him, and he beat him. And I told you guys if he beat him, that I would be predicting him to beat everybody else in this division. And I stand on that. And I was expecting him to look bad, poor, struggle with the range until he didn't. And he sat down and he found the shot. Very similarly to how I said, I might have even said straight overhand right on a counter at some point in my prediction. But feel free to give the like. Feel free to subscribe. This should not have been 50 minutes, but I love this shit. Thank you, guys. We will have prediction videos out probably on Wednesday. All right. Later. Like and subscribe. Let me know what else you guys want to see, too. Again, I'm starting out this YouTube channel. I want different ideas. I like matchmaking. I love prospect videos, underrated, overrated, whatever you guys want to see. I'll do tier list. I'll do whatever you guys need. I got some time throughout this week finally, so down to get some content out. Anyways, like, subscribe. Later.